There was one called QI with Stephen Fry that I used to like watching.
All right.
Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
That was a good program. And on the UK, on the
television you said anymore, so you wouldn't be into these talk show hosts, right?
there was one called QI with Stephen Fry that I used to like watching.
All right.
Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
That was a good program. And on the UK, on the TV, there was a guy called James Whale who went from having a radio
very good,
to a television show. Do you remember James Whale?
Oh,
I do.
very good.
Used to have a few nudie women on it, nice. Very good.
I didn't see that part.
I did. He did a few good women on
So
it.
the only part of it you saw.
It was very good.
Watch television you said anymore, so you wouldn't be into these talk show hosts, right?
There was one called QI with Stephen Fry that I used to like watching.
All right.
Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
That was a good program. And on the UK, on the TV, there was a guy called James Whale who went from having a radio
very good,
to a television show. Do you remember James Whale?
Oh,
I do.
very good.
Used to have a few nudie women on it, nice. Very good.
I didn't see that part.
I did. He did a few good women on
So
it.
the only part of it you saw.
It was very good.
Was hosting a morning show.
Gavin Grace.
Yeah, that and so that was a positive experience. I'd have time for him.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, they plugged your book, is it?
I tend not to listen to Claire FM much, but I was invited in, and it was a nice opportunity to speak a little bit about the issues in the book and my own personal journey, which I'm sure your guests and panel there can avail of if they're passing Eason's in Shannon.
No, I'm keeping all my money for a pint of Guinness when I'm allowed to pick a drink.
My bathroom doesn't have a plug as big as that. That's ridiculous.
So, to answer the question...
By the way, what's the book about?
And how much is it?
Go on, Carol. Tell Brian.
All those answers can be found at www.carljashley.com.
It's about a turkey and a fox
and a scorpion.
And a scorpion.
And a wasp. But
we don't have scorpions in this country.
No, there's no more turkeys now.
And welcome along to this edition of LiR Confidential on lirmedia.tv. And our usual email is info@lirmedia.tv. Now, I'm delighted to welcome Brian Butler to the program this morning. Good morning, Brian, where you are. I think it's about 11:30, is it?
Good morning. Yeah, it's about that. Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's great to have you. You know, Brian now is the CEO of Sucker Punch Entertainment, and we'll talk about a bit that later on. Now, Brian, your mum, of course, Alice Butler Sharp for people, and she's well known in this country anyway. Alice Butler Sharp, because she was a very strong, well-spoken, and absolutely committed to her principles, and she lived by them the best way she could, and she was much admired for that. Some people who may not agree with her politics nevertheless had huge admiration for the energy of the woman. And we came across your mum a couple of years back, and my goodness me, she was just a human. What was it like growing up with a dynamic mother like that, Brian?
You know, I knew no different, and it took me a while to realize, you know, how strong of a woman she was. she, you know, it wasn't until I was older that I could appreciate that she basically left home, left Ireland, did all that she did, you know, in Hong Kong and stuff like that, and then to take the, you know, 3 bratty boys across the world to Canada and start a life there on her own. You know, not only was, you know, I know, you know, single mothers and children are often looked at as like, well, you know, she's got baggage, she's got this and that, but you know, not only did my mom have that, but she had mixed kids, you know, and in a time when that wasn't very, you know, I would say accepted, I guess, but
Yeah.
she did it. I never knew anything other than a happy, great childhood. I never knew that she did, that she had while she was raising us in Canada, single mother until later. To me, I always felt spoiled because she just always found a way. She was very determined and very driven, and I believe that's what has, you know, has been instilled in myself and all of my brothers. And she was something. She was.
She was, and indeed, Brian, we were watching her funeral online here on this side of the Atlantic, and of course, just for people who are looking in, Alice Butler, short Alice Butler herself, she was just from outside Clare in County Tipperary, but we've done many interviews with her anyway. But and it's tremendous, the outpouring of love and respect and admiration for your mother is still strong, obviously. But obviously, when I was watching the funeral line, all the people, I don't know. I mean, as you said yourself, you were her son, so you knew. Obviously, you knew what type of person she was. But did it not surprise you at all? It didn't surprise me anyway. Of the amount of love and affection and respect people had for your mom.
It didn't surprise me, you know. I knew that there would be a tremendous amount of people there, and I was, you know, I'll be honest with you, me and my brothers, we were always concerned for my mom for the amount of work she took on and the amount of people that also might be coming in to take advantage of her kindness and stuff. You know, like we had an ongoing joke that every Christmas we were gonna have who are we gonna see at Christmas dinner, because she would always bring in, you know, people that she's like, oh, they need help or this and that, and we were always just worried that she was gonna get taken advantage of, because, you know,
big
she just constantly did that. So it didn't surprise me that there was a lot of people there. She had a huge impact, you know, much larger impact on people than even I. Actually, I will take that back. It did surprise me. I expected a lot. I didn't expect the outpouring to be as great and significant. I still get messages to this day of people that met my mom only a couple of times, and they're reaching out to me, you know, and my other brothers, just to say that, you know, how much they appreciated my mom in the short time they got to know her. So, you know, to me, I'm very proud of her. I wish, you know, I wish I would have let her know more while she was here.
Yeah, but I know. I mean, she spoke about you, and I know that she knew how much she loved her. Anyway, there's no doubt in my mind about that.
She knew, but we would always give her a hard time on being too much, like going after things too hard and letting too many people into her circle. So, you know, that was her though. You know, there was nothing I could say, and I know she would talk everybody's ears off about her kids, and I apologize. I said that at her funeral. I apologize in advance for you know, she always said her friends wanted to meet us. I'm like, Mom, they don't want to meet us. They're just being polite. They're just, you know, but she would always boast about her kids, and I know that she was tremendously proud of all of us. So, you know,
absolutely, Brian. And I first heard your mum being interviewed way back when Donald Trump was running for president. I first heard your mum being interviewed on one of the radio stations here in Ireland, Virginia Women for Trump. My goodness, she made absolute mincemeat of some of the panelists, because they really hadn't their homework done, you know. They hadn't their facts found out or anything like that. She was just fantastic.
Yeah, no, my mom was highly intelligent and very smart. And when she was passionate about a topic, she knew it inside and out. And, I am not going to say that I am to the degree that she was. I'm definitely conservative. I'm definitely, Republican, and I lean that direction for sure. But my mom was, she was hardcore on Trump. And like I said, if you didn't come at her with your homework done, she was going to chew you up with facts. And
Oh, absolutely,
just
absolutely, no doubt about it.
actually,
What
you
is
could
just
come,
the real-
you could come at her with your homework done, and she would still chew you up with facts, because that's just the way it is.
Well, I would certainly not debate your mum in politics anyway. Not certainly not. I might in private, but not in public. But anyway, Brian Butler is our special guest, and Brian, just briefly speaking, what is the atmosphere now? Or you're in Virginia, are you?
I'm in Richmond, Virginia. Yes.
Yeah. What's the atmosphere in the States now about, politically speaking, about this trouble that's going on as we, particularly on Afghanistan? Is it disturbing? Is it challenging?
I mean, the Afghanistan stuff is obviously very fresh, just over the last few days here. And yeah, it's obvious. It's got to be troubling to everybody. If it's not, I think, you've got bigger problems. I see a deafening silence from the Democratic side on it. And, I see on the Republican side or on the right side, there's a lot of people saying that, giving you the gotchas and I told you so's and this and that. And then there's the side that are just genuinely concerned overall. It doesn't matter what side you're on.
That's right. Yeah.
There's a problem, and it should matter.
Yeah.
Fix it, and that's it.
The humanitarian tragedy is dreadful anyway, no matter what side you're on. But just getting back to yourself now, Brian Butler, he's the CEO of Sucker Punch Entertainment. Now, in the last 10, 15 years, I suppose, mixed martial arts up right across the board. Now, an old fogey like me, it's passed me by, but my sons and all that age, huge fans of it, huge fans. And I was looking at your website. You have quite a good, support sponsors like Budweiser and Monster, Reebok, and all those, to name but a few. Brian, when did you start? When did you start Sucker Punch Entertainment? How did it come about?
So I owned an ad agency for about 13 years prior to starting Sucker Punch, and when I was doing that, I was basically found myself stuck behind a computer, 5-6 days a week, and I wanted to do something to get in shape. Running and lifting weights just wasn't my thing, but I found a gym that was, there was a martial arts gym, but it had a boxing ring in the middle of it, and I was like, oh, that's real. I didn't want like the typical Taekwondo where you're just doing, katas and things that just weren't really practical. So I joined this gym, and it's called Combat Sports Center here in Richmond, Virginia. And I loved it. And before long, the owner of the gym realized that I owned this ad agency. And he asked me if I would help him market and promote a small show here in Richmond. And I said I would do it, but I wasn't going to pay any more gym dues. It would be my trade-off. And we did that. And I did it with my friend and longtime friend. And he was my partner, but he's gone off to other ventures now. Brandon Montijo, and we did the show, and my first thing was to bring in a special guest to promote it, to make fans come and have sign autographs, with this celebrity guest, and it was Jens Pulver, who is basically a Hall of Famer in the UFC. He was the very first lightweight champion in the UFC, and he and I hit it off. And sorry, I'm losing my voice because I was yelling all weekend. I was at an event.
I know what that's like.
Yeah. And he asked me if I'd work with him and be his agent. And at the time, I was just a huge fan of his. So I was like, oh, absolutely, I'll try it. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'll try it. And I did it, and it ended up working out really well. Everybody took notice of him and asked who he was working with. And one client led to another, which was Jeff Curran. And then Jeff Curran led to another. He gave me his whole team. And before I knew it, the hobby started taking up more of my time, but my business was suffering because I was putting a lot of attention in the hobby, and I tried to balance both for about 2 years, and the hobby Sucker Punch wasn't picking up income fast enough to catch up to my business, so I had to take another leap of faith, and I felt like I was in the right place at the right time, and I just shut down the ad agency and went full steam into Sucker Punch, and here we are 14 and a half years later, and it's one of the most successful, largest management companies in the entire sport.
That's fantastic, and deservedly so, Brian. I was reading bits and pieces about it, trying to inform myself. But I suppose people think of the United States of America, and obviously that's 350 million plus. So, I mean, if you look for a tiny percentage of that market, you're doing extremely well, as opposed where I live here in Ireland, we've only 4.96 million people. So, I mean, a 1% reach in America is 3 million people instantly, you know, business-wise, you know, but in Ireland it's much smaller. But how has it been for the last year and a half or 2 years with the COVID situation, business income speaking, so to speak?
I mean, the COVID situation, you mean as far as income on the business?
Yeah.
Luckily for me and our entire sport, you know, we were the first ones to come back online. Everything shut down, and you know, say what you want about Dana White, he's the president of the UFC. Love him or hate him, he was a huge driving factor in bringing the UFC back online. And not only the UFC, I firmly believe if it wasn't for him, none of the other sports would have come back either. Like, everybody followed suit with the rules that were set in place with the UFC coming back online. So oddly enough, mixed martial arts is responsible for sports coming back, in my opinion. They were the ones that laid out the game plan for, you know, quarantine bubbles and athletes and protocols that are all set in place. So, you know, that was a big thing, and we never really skipped a beat. While we stayed home and didn't get to travel to live events anymore, they were still putting on shows, and fighters were, you know, fighting regularly, and you know, I was very blessed to have business continue and actually grow during the COVID season, or the COVID.
And is there many of the networks obviously stayed interested because you were online, you know, and the events were online. There weren't physical people at those fights, were there?
Yeah, it was closed off to, you know, to audiences. So they were doing shows. The UFC has their own facility, so they were doing private shows. They just had the camera and production crews there, along with the commission and the, you know, referees and stuff like that. So it was a closed off show, but they could broadcast it on television. And because, you know, it was the first sport to come back online during a time when everything was shut down, I believe the popularity of it also grew because people were tuning in to watch it that otherwise wouldn't have, because there was nothing else on TV. I remember ESPN was running cornhole tournaments, you know, and who wants to watch that? You know, I mean, so when the UFC came on, it actually gave content for people to watch. And I think the fan base in mixed martial arts grew tremendously during the pandemic.
Yeah. And it is a thriving business, I know yourself again. And it, as you said, because of Dana White, and you're dead right about him. Whatever you think about him, he's gung ho about his business, and he's gung ho about getting people up, working, getting income for people. I admire the man very much. Of course, he was the guy who promoted our own Colin McGregor. You know, when he was on the go, you know, he was massive draw in Ireland and all over, you know, McGregor I'm talking about, you know. Did you ever meet him?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And he, of course, he went down very well with the Irish community in America and over here as well. I mean, the pay-per-view went off the charts here in Ireland when one of his fights were being beamed over here, you know, usually early hours in the morning, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, but the huge audience for it. And it built up the profile of MMA and all the other Bellator and all those. Then, of course, it has a spin-off effect then for people who, because of Conor McGregor in Ireland, in the Irish context, loads and loads of people start taking up the sport as well, you know?
Oh yeah, he's one of the biggest stars in sports, not just MMA, but in all of sports. Conor McGregor is one of the biggest stars in the world.
So if you made an announcement with Sucker Punch Entertainment, you were promoting Conor McGregor, you wouldn't have to do any marketing to sell itself, would it?
Probably not. No.
And so
he
tell
sells
me, Brian,
himself. You'd have to.
Huh?
I said he sells himself. You would have to basically concern yourself with reeling him in, as opposed to putting him out. You know.
Right. Because he's a huge promoter of himself, and I don't know, is he retired or is he semi-retired? I don't know what the story is with him. You know.
Oh, he's recovering from an injury. He broke his leg in his last fight.
He did, yeah. I know that, yeah. And what about the women, the female side of it? Is that getting popular as well? The female side of MMA, generally speaking.
Very, very popular. I would say that it's one of the most popular sides
Really?
of it. Yeah.
That's good to see in one way, you know, because I mean, we have. Oh, by the way, I know we're jumping around the place. Muhammad Ali's grandson made his debut over the weekend in boxing. He's boxing in the middleweight division. His grandson,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he won his fight. It only lasted 2 minutes, but anyway, there you go. It's just an interesting sideway. I think he might be. I think given balls, he might be looking for an agent. I was thinking about it. But yes, Walsh is his name, and it's something. I'm speaking to Brian Butler, our special guest here on LiR Confidential, and of course he is the son of the wonderful Alice Butler, who sadly no longer with us, but in spirit, of course, she is every day. And she was a great friend to this station here. We're only just getting off the ground. That's LiRmedia.tv, and we were absolutely thrilled to have Alice on our side, and she organized so many different guests for us on the station. You know, it's just raised our profile here anyway, you know, and we've gone into new studios recently. So as I look around me here, I can see all the painting around me here in the studio. We're doing it up. But anyway, you know, Brian, going forward now, you're in the PR side of it. Does that mean, I'm trying to get a handle on this, you go out looking for business, or do people come to you? Do people come to you to put the package together for them? The nuts and bolts that I'm talking about.
So we're not necessarily in the PR business. We're in the management business. PR kind of is something that falls into our wheelhouse just because, you know, like I said, like if you have a fighter that's going out and doing crazy things, it's going to be on us to tell them to calm down. But we do go out and solicit. We do go out and look for business as far as endorsements, you know, sponsorships and appearances, you know, TV roles, movie roles, things like that. But our main business is building up the fighters' careers and getting them signed to a big show like the UFC or Bellator, you know, taking them from being a new fighter to an established fighter and working on their contracts, you know, negotiating their pay, lobbying for certain opponents, you know, things like that.
Oh, I see what you mean now. Oh, absolutely. And just on another point, have you been in Ireland many times?
I've been to Ireland with my mom a few times. She brought us over there. She was very adamant that we stay connected with our Irish roots, and she was very, very proud of that. Very proud of Care and you know, everybody there. And you know, the most important thing for her was for us to stay connected with our roots.
And of course, you're planning on coming over again, are you?
If everything opens up, I have a lot of family over there still, and I have family over there that wants to come visit here. So you're hoping everything just opens up and we can get things back to normal. But yes, I'd love to come back over.
Well, just remember, when you're flying to Ireland the next time, make sure you come into Shannon Airport, because that's where I live. I live beside the airport. So you'll have a free chauffeur driven car around the place.
Oh, yeah.
You'll be more than welcome to impose on us. But so you're looking down the road now, Brian. The business is healthy.
Very healthy.
and you're very optimistic about, of course, the states itself, the United States, is it opening up now? Of course, the rules and regulations would differ from state to state, wouldn't they?
Yeah, state to state, there are some different rules for sure, depending on who the governor is. But things are pretty open here in Virginia. I think there's some other states that are a little bit crazy, like New York and California. But for the most part, things are relatively normal here. You can go into restaurants and things like that, and nobody's requiring masks anymore. Masks are optional with vaccines and stuff.
So it's pretty almost back to normal, you would say, would it?
Almost.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're in a hiatus here now. I think there's a huge uncertainty here in this country whether you should wear a mask or not, and whether it's up in the air at the moment. So people are getting very disturbed about it, because businesses, there's still an awful lot of businesses closed, and I'm sure the same in where you live. There's some businesses won't open again. They actually closed, and they stay closed. Is there much of that around business-wise around where you are now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sad to see, but my position is, if you want to wear it, wear it. If you don't. If you want the vaccine, get it. If you don't.
Yeah, I'd be the same as you, because I'm not anti anything. I think that I'm for a free choice. Like you said, it's none of my business whether you get it or not. That's the way I see it, because people are people and need them off and live their life. But was there much help from the government, for businesses, that time when they had to close?
I mean, there was government aid for businesses that shut down, but it's not enough. And then you got a large portion of the working environment that doesn't, that is happy to take the free money, and they don't want to go back to work. So I mean,
well, you're right.
I'm indifferent on that.
You're right about that, Brian, because here in Ireland, some people, what we call, who were being paid a very, very low wage in Ireland, when they got the COVID payment, they realized, I'm getting more money for not working than I was when I was working. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer for some people. That goes to show that they weren't getting enough anyway, So I'd say there's a realignment has to be done there anyway, for people to go back to work. Because after all, I mean, if you're getting more money not to work than you are working, I mean, it's a no-brainer for people, and they're not going to go back to the job,
Right, but that money will run out. You can't just, that money, that's not a never-ending pool. And when that runs out, what? Then what? It's like people have to get back to work. And I understand that, minimum wage can suck and things like that, but I'm also not an advocate on forcing small business to pay a wage that they can't afford.
That's the other side of the coin. Yeah, that's the other
competition
side.
drives things, and you need to incentivize your people to work for you, and if you can't, you can't. But don't force me to pay somebody a wage that I can't afford, because I'll just get rid of them and cause more unemployment.
I know, and I saw Congress there recently signed a bill to approve $1.3 trillion. Get your head around that. $1.3 trillion to pay the ongoing payments. I think it's, as you said, some decisions have to be decided sometime. We're not expecting people to live on nothing, but there has to be an interest. Same here in Ireland. The COVID payments are being phased out in Ireland as we speak, all along the line. There's only about a third of what they were on it now. People are going back to work. They have to go back to work anyway, And I think in the United States, of all the countries I know, I've never been in the United States, quite honest, and we were planning on going until this COVID thing hit us, But anyway, like other highly industrialized countries, there's still plenty of opportunities if you really, really want to make it, is there?
Absolutely. If you really want to make it, there's nothing but opportunity. But if you are incentivized to not, well, that's what majority of the people are going to go. Not a lot of, unfortunately, most people aren't incentivized to really go after it. A lot of people feel entitled, and a lot of people want to sit back and collect something that they feel like they're entitled to when they're really not. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. This could open up a rabbit hole that I don't know if we want to get into, but
No, because I mean, I agree with you there, Brian, because it is an anomaly in the system whereby I can understand why they did it in the beginning, because all the businesses were shut and people needed money to live on. So all the businesses were shut in the beginning, you know, so therefore they needed money to live on. I can understand why the government stepped up to the plate and said, look, here you are, Brian, we're going to give you this every week for the next 6 months, you know, whatever. And then after, but as you said, I think it has to stop. Really, it has to stop, because
it has to, because it's
we have
what
no
that money is
economy.
going to bleed out on. Yeah, I mean, it's going to bleed out on people. It's just out, you know, like it's going to run out. It's just not fair to keep doing that. And people have to get back to work, and they need to realize that they're not entitled to handouts. You know, handouts should be there for emergency situations and for people that really need it, not for people that want to sit home and collect a check because they're making more at home now than they were when they were working.
And just
if they don't like their job where they're working, then do something.
Yeah. And just another thing ran into my head, Brian. Also, the Sucker Punch Entertainment, do you negotiate deals with TV, or is that with the governing body of the particular sport do that, is it?
So the promotion does that.
Yeah.
I don't deal with the networks at all. I deal with the promotion. So it would be, to put it in a perspective for you, it would be like I would negotiate, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think. You don't even have, I was going to say the NFL, but you have soccer, football for you.
Yeah.
So like Chelsea, I would negotiate with the team Chelsea for the pay for my athlete, and Chelsea would handle whatever business they do with their broadcast.
Oh, I have you now. Yeah. Yes. The governing body, like, would, yes, they would, of course. They'd be going coast to coast and all of that. And the viewership, I was looking, the viewership is pretty healthy for sport in the United States anyway, you know, for all kinds of sports, you know.
Yeah.
And in the United States, we were speaking on another program last night. Must have you on as well in a few weeks. Tell me something. Do we go all year? Is it all year round activity?
MMA is, yeah, there's no seasons. It's all year round.
Yeah, that's pretty good, isn't it? That's pretty good. And as you
it's
say,
very good.
You have men and you have women, and you have all the different weights. I mean, it must be, you know, I can't even get a handle on it here because we don't have that many in Ireland. You know what I mean? It's a small country, but I dare say it's because of Conor McGregor. I don't even come back to him. He put it on the map in the Republic, you know, in Ireland, and consequently Europe as well, in England. So I mean, you know, hopefully he'll get back.
Well, Conor put it on the map through a show that is owned by an Irish man named Graham Boylan and Cage Warriors. Cage Warriors is the largest show in the UK, and that's where Conor got his start. And Conor wouldn't be Conor without Cage Warriors. And Graham, so yeah.
Oh yeah, I see. I didn't know that now, you know. That's really good. So for the future, your books are full, are they? Can you get some more on the books?
What's that?
Your books are full, are they? Or is there plenty of room in your books for more stuff?
Oh yeah. No, we're always, our books are always open. So we you know, there's people retiring, people coming in, and so it's a constant cycle of new fighters versus veterans.
Excellent. So, and you walk out of Virginia, do you?
Yeah, Richmond, Virginia.
So don't forget, Brian, next time you come into Ireland, make sure one thing, just fly into Shannon Airport, and
I will do that.
Just give us a buzz, and you don't have to worry about accommodation or anything the next time you're coming over. Actually, Shannon isn't far from Cahir anyway, in County Tipperary, you know.
Yeah, I believe that's the airport we always flew into.
Yeah.
I believe that's the one we always flew into when we came there.
That's right, yeah, it's just down the road. It's only a bus trip down the road, you know, obviously. So before we finish, Brian, well, I'll finish the program, and then my colleague just wants a quick word, say hello to you. So from this edition of LiR Confidential, from Brian Butler, I'm delighted to have you, Brian. We'll have you back again, hopefully. But I wish you all the very best. So for this edition, goodbye and good luck.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Go ahead.
It's a fact.
Go
And
ahead.
Patrick.
Hungry Tony, we need a sandwich, doesn't he? He's chewing that pencil there now.
I'll ask lads, we could go on for another, but we've come to the end. We've come to the end of this edition, and I'm looking forward to meeting those
Miriam.
friends.
Give him a sandwich, come on. I wish I could.
Well, lads, we've come to the end of this edition of your Cannot Be Serious. So from Tony Brown, Una Walsh, Miriam Kilmurray, Mary Honan, and myself, from this edition of You Cannot Be Serious, until we meet again, good night.
Hey, thank you, bye.
It was a great, the fella, and Darcy was telling the story how if this fella pulled in above in Letterkenny for petrol. It wasn't that, you know, like in the 90s, and he had his sister with him, but when he went in to pay, he'd only a card, so they wouldn't take his money, but he had to leave his sister there while he went away to get his money. He got the 12, that guy.
Yeah. I wonder was she worth it?
I could imagine imagine publishing a book.
So, Declan, did he come back for her?
Exactly, yeah.
Money. But
A lot of fellas would have liked that, done that with their wives.
And Brian, did you watch that series at all, The Kardashians at home?
I actually have it. I have it downloaded on my I have it downloaded on my box, and I did it by accident, and I went into it last night. I went into it last night and turned on the first episode and watched about 20 seconds of it just to see. And girl now, and Mary will love her for this. That girl now is a year away from becoming a solicitor in America.
Yeah.
Kim Kardashian, she's fighting. She got some woman out of prison that was in prison for a minor drugs.
She was wrong.
She went to Donald Trump and got her taken out, and now she's studying law. And I guarantee you, she has something like 160 million followers on this Instagram. Yeah. If she decides to start a platform in the next few years of looking after the downtrodden in prisons and things like that, she will be a massive voice. To make is that the 14 years of the Kardashians, in my view, she's only 41 years of age, that girl. In the next 20 or 30 years, I have a feeling she's going to do some massive work.
I hope she does.
Where justice is concerned. And if that happens, then the program was worth every
minute. They're not fools. They're very shrewd.
They're not. They're
very
shrewd.
They're
millionaires. This Kylie Jenner one, she's the Jenner is the fella that changed his gender.
Yes.
He was the original. She's not a Kardashian, she's a Jenner.
Bruce Jenner's daughter.
Jenner had two daughters, Kylie and Kendall.
Right, I get mixed up at times.
I know a lot about this, don't I, lads?
I was just going to say, Brian, you took in a lot in 20 seconds.
You took a lot in 20 seconds.
I took it all in about a half an hour this evening on Google.
What about you? Do you tune into Ben Shapiro or Michael Knowles or Joe Rogan or any of those?
Helen Shapiro?
Absolutely not. I stopped watching television about 10 years ago. And I stopped buying mainstream media newspapers over 10 years ago, maybe longer, 15, 20. In fact, yeah, at
You
least
didn't
20
join the
years
Green Party by any chance, did you?
since I bought a newspaper. I do read a lot, and I'm a writer. I'm currently writing my 5th book. I think television is a huge waste of time, although I did used to like...
I know we digress. Tell the lads what was the first book you wrote.
The first book, The Fox and the Scorpion Meets Cold Turkey, I was interviewed...
I'll repeat that for the lads. The Fox and the Scorpion Meets Cold Turkey.
Yeah, I was interviewed by...
Is that the fox I heard there?
That turkey's going to get
Or
a
is
hiding now.
it the cold turkey?
The dog's barking at a wasp, sorry.
We'll have to do a book club.
Is that going to be your 6th book, Carl, is it?
Is it all right if I finish, Pat?
It is, yeah, it is, of course.
Where are you going away?
You'll get no change here, you know.
Time to go, lads. Time to go.
Go on, Carl. So the first book you wrote...
It's only your first time on now, Carl. Don't be getting too ahead of yourself now.
He's plugging the book. He's plugging the book already.
It sounds like the Late Show, lads.
Come on, give it a check.
Carl, I want to tease this out, if you don't mind. That was about your journey. A journey, wasn't it?
It was, and what I was going to mention was I was interviewed on Claire FM by a guy called Gavin, who I think was hosting a morning show.
Gavin Grace.
Yeah, that and so that was a positive experience. I'd have time for him.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, I plugged your book, is it?
I tend not to listen to Claire FM much, but I was invited in, and you know, it was a nice opportunity to speak a little bit about the issues in the book and my own personal journey, which I'm sure your guests and panel there can avail of if they're passing Eason's in Shannon.
I'm keeping all my money for a pint of Guinness when I'm allowed to pick a drink.
My bathroom doesn't have a plug as big as that. That's ridiculous.
So, to answer the question...
By the way, what's the book about?
And how much is it?
Go on, Carol. Tell Brian.
All those answers can be found at www.carljashley.com.
It's about a turkey and a fox
and a scorpion.
And a scorpion.
And a wasp. But
we don't have scorpions in this country.
No, there's no more turkeys now, Carol. They're all in the dog. You don't watch television, you said, anymore, so you wouldn't be into these talk show hosts, right?
There was one called QI with Stephen Fry that I used to like watching.
All right.
Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
That was a good program. And on the UK, on the TV, there was a guy called James Whale who went from having a radio...
Oh, very good. Very good.
A television show. Do you remember James Whale?
Oh,
I do. Used to have a few nudie women on it, nice. Very good.
I didn't see that part.
Oh, I did. He did a few good women on it.
So the only part of it you saw.
Very good.